Hey YouTube, Blade Brothers here. Today I want to do a video, and I might actually do a few videos actually on a style of knife that I really like, similar to the Karambit. It has both combative and utility type of uses, has a long culture and history, and it's just a great overall design. It's very distinctive, and I really like it. So, as you can see right here, this is the knife that I'm going to be talking about. It's the Kukri. So this particular Kukri I've had for quite a few years now. This is actually from a company called GKNCO or Kukri House. You can find them online. They actually do authentic kukris made in Nepal. So you can see here, it says Nepal. This particular model is the what they call the Gurkha official issue, or British official issue kukri. So the understanding is this is pretty much based on the same design as what the Gurkha soldiers are actually issued upon completing their training. So it's quite an interesting blade. As you can see, the Kukri design, it has this strong sort of recurve right here, and it's very thick, so it actually is very front heavy. When you're actually swinging and trying to do like a hacking motion with it, it in accordance to your wrists, it actually aligns directly. The spine of the blade aligns great with your wrist, and the weight just carries forward. It functions very similar to like a axe in that regard. And because of the amount of blade you're talking about here, yeah, it can be used for some pretty heavy chopping jobs. This one in particular, it's about an overall length of 15.5 inches. The blade itself is about 10.25 inches. It's sort of got a satin polish to it. Not entirely mirror polish, but pretty reflective, as you can see. And blade thickness is about 3/8 inches, so quite substantial, as you can see right there. The handle is about 5.25 inches and made from buffalo horn. So I don't know if you can see that. Let me see if I can zoom in and maybe you can see it. It's actually made from buffalo horn, a full piece of buffalo horn, which they kind of grind down for the pattern here. You can see some of the patterns of the horn right there. It feels really good in the hand. The flared end actually, because what happens is when you actually do like a chopping motion with this, it carries forward. So the flared end of the handle actually helps keep it in your hand stable. The sheath is leather with some brass end here. I think it's just plain buffalo hide. And then the traditional kukris actually come with two sort of accessory knives, or well, it's not a knife per se, because this one, which is blunt. Let me see if I can zoom in here. This one is blunt. It's not actually edged. It's called the chakmak. You use it sort of like a honing steel. So if you need to do like field sharpening to try to bring your kukri back to a usable edge, you would use the chakmak. And you can see here it's also buffalo horn handle here. but it's not bladed. And then the other is actually a small knife. It actually has an edge. This one's called the Carta. It's not very sharp though. I mean, I could probably bring this to a finer edge, but the purpose of having this one is actually for sort of more detailed jobs. I think they use the example of like skinning. You would use something like a smaller knife like this that is a finer edge than, say, the actual Kukri blade, because it's got a very substantial blade here. So for sort of detail work, you wouldn't want to do that. The blade is made from 5160 high carbon spring steel, so very tough, but in terms of edge retention, not great, but you can easily sharpen it, so that's why you can actually use the chalk mark to kind of hone it. But the corrosion resistance is not its strong point. You can see here there's already some tarnishing. Let me see if I can zoom in here. Yeah, there's already some tarnishing going on with the blade right there. I've had this blade going on 7 or 8 years now, and I've taken it out and like cleared brush with it, as well as you know, just some routine chopping tasks I've done, like you know, trimming down some like limbs off of trees in my backyard and whatnot. So I've put it through its paces. I've sharpened it a few times with just a plain sharpening stone. Nothing fancy. But it is, I mean, as a utility tool, it's great. I actually like the feel of this over, say, a machete, because the front heaviness, it just, it's not as tiring to use. And if you're actually used to it, it's quite effective in terms of like taking down large branches, because the blade overall width and whatnot really adds a lot of power behind each like chop. As a weapon, I've trained with this. Basically, it's doing some, you know, twirling motions similar to Eskrima type moves, because you want to go use a circular motion to build the momentum until you're actually doing a chopping motion. The I mean, you are capable of also thrusting with this, and it will definitely penetrate. As you can see, the tip is quite massive here. So I've actually stuck this into some like trees and whatnot, and yeah, it will go in at least like an inch or more. One would argue sometimes the thrusting motion is not as effective because your alignment is not as good, but actually I have found no problem with it. And especially if you're coming in a chopping motion, it's very, very agile. The circular motions of how I would use it is better for recovery because of how front heavy it is. So after you do a slashing motion, you would twirl to kind of recover. But yeah, it's quite nimble, and it works great as a utility type of blade. And you know, it's a great piece of culture too, because I mean, the just the fame of the Gurkhas, and you know, the how effective they are as a force. You know, having a Kukri, it just kind of gives you that sense of tenacious combative quality, I guess you can call it. Yeah, so this is As far as I know, as traditional of a kukri as you can get. I mean, there's probably some that are more ornate. Um, there's some that actually have ground in like fullers to kind of lessen the weight of it a bit. The fullers are called chiras, and and then of course there's supposed to be some cultural significance depending on which sources you go by for this little notch right there. So there's a lot of culture associated with the kukri, and that's part of why I like it. I mean, there's a lot of culture and history behind it, similar to the karambit. And they both have roots as a sort of multi-purpose tool. I mean, primarily in like, farming and whatnot. So this is probably originated from like a sickle type blade for harvesting and whatnot, but then they needed it for chopping tasks and just kind of developed it to use for other purposes, chopping and whatnot. But then ultimately, in a defensive situation, they figured out this also works well as a combative tool. I mean, this thing feels great in the hand, and it is quite effective. So, yeah, this is a kukri. I have a few other knives that is actually based off of a traditional kukri, and I'll probably create some videos to kind of showcase those as well. But I wanted to start sort of this series with the more traditional design, along with with the Karda and the Chakmak, to kind of get a basis of comparison. Then you can I'll cover some more modernized takes on the kukri. I mean, they definitely utilize the sort of front recurve type shape for a lot of knives, but they didn't, made modifications to whether it's the handle or the steel type for better like corrosion resistance maybe, or better edge retention, sheath. So I'll do another video based on that. All right, I hope you liked this particular video, and if you are a fan of the kukri knife, definitely leave us some comments, share your thoughts. As always, your support is deeply appreciated. Please like and subscribe our channel. All right, Blade Brothers signing off. Take care.